Human was sent to hunt the alien girl, but then the one being hunted was him. The shuttle hummed softly as it docked at Neo Viridia's orbital station, the kind of low vibration that settled into your bones after hours in transit. Kalen Vane stepped out, his civilian coat draped loose over shoulders honed from years of bureau drills. He tucked his badge deeper into the lining, eyes flicking across the platform where cargo drones zipped like angry insects. Below, the megacity sprawled, a web of neon veins pulsing against the dark curve of the planet. He adjusted his pack, blending into the crowd of off-world traders and tech haulers, each step measured to avoid the scan grids humming overhead. The descent pod dropped him into the lower districts, where the air thickened with recycled ozone and street vendor steam. Kalen navigated the throng, his implant feeding him layout data, alleys branching like fractures, security cams winking from every corner. The Nexus loomed ahead, its facade a sleek curve of alloy and glass, holograms flickering invitations to the weary. Inside, the bar thrummed with life, holographic dancers twisting in midair, their forms glitching faintly against the baseline. Patrons huddled in booths murmuring deals over encrypted pads, while servers slipped packages into hidden compartments below the floor. Sarah Vex moved through it all like she owned the shadows themselves, her jade skin catching the light in the subtle shifts. She nodded to a cluster of VIPs, her hair a cascade of deeper green, while directing staff with quiet commands. Down in the basement, her team handled the real work, crates of off-grid tech vanishing into the network's veins. Kalen approached the bar, flashing his forged credentials. "Here for the security audit," he said, voice even. Sarah glanced up, her eyes lingering a beat too long on the earthborn stranger. Human, no enhancements visible, yet something about his stance screamed training. He got to work on the anti-scanner mesh, tools clicking against panels in the back room. Wires hummed under his fingers, the system outdated but clever, layered to dodge standard sweeps. Sarah hovered nearby, arms crossed, watching with that quiet curiosity. "You handle those like you've, seen worse," she said, a hint of a smile. Kalen shrugged. "Just doing the job." Their hands brushed as he passed a calibrator. Static leaped, sharp and unbidden. The bar's roar faded to a single heartbeat echoing in his chest. Every patron stilled, glasses hovering mid-sip, as if the world had paused for a glitch. Sarah's pupils widened, a rush of foreign thoughts crashing in. Mission logs, target profiles, all flickering like code errors in her mind. She pulled back, masking the surge with a quick breath. "Well, that was odd. Static buildup, maybe?" But she felt the pull, and that orange spark hinting at something deeper. Kalen blinked, echoes of her confusion rippling through him. She straightened, decision made. "You know what? We could use someone like you full-time. Job's yours if you want it." That night, Kalen hauled his gear up to the staff loft, the stairs creaking underfoot. The space was sparse, cot, desk, a window overlooking the city's glow. He set up his recorder, voice low and steady for the bureau log. In position, target engaged, no complications. But his pulse betrayed him, still thrumming from that touch, Sarah's stray thoughts lingering like static cling. He paced, shaking it off. Biology, nothing more. Orin quirks, his briefing had said. Yet when the tracker beacon blinked ready in his palm, he hesitated and slipped it back into his pocket, unactivated. Silos waited in the corridor, his frame blocking the light like a weathered cliff. Scar tissue tattoos mapped old battles across his jade arms, eyes narrowing at the new hire. "You move quiet for a tech guy," he rumbled, stepping closer. Testing, always testing. Kalen met his gaze, instinct kicking in. "Habit from tight spots." Xylos grunted, a faint nod, but his hand lingered near his belt knife, warrior senses prickling. A soft clatter broke the standoff. Lyra peeked around the door, her 8-year-old frame small but bright-eyed, jade skin paler than Sarah's. Mech Mariro, her clockwork pet, whirred at her heels, little legs ticking like a metronome. She tilted her head, staring up at Kalen, reading the air around him. You're, yeah, scared of something big, aren't you? She whispered, voice soft but sure. Kalen knelt, caught off guard. What makes you say that, kid? Maxiero projected a tiny Starfield hologram, spinning gently to ease the moment. He waved her off gently, but her words stuck as he settled in. Out the window, the skyline stretched endless, towers piercing the haze like spears. Kalen leaned against the frame, telling himself again, it was just biology. The bond, if that's what it was, meant nothing. Yet that pocketed tracker weighed heavy, a choice unmade. Far below, a patrol drone swept by, its cam catching a brief flare from the bar's heat sig. Gold for one frame, then gone. A glitch, they logged it. Nothing more. The next shift pulled Kalen deeper into the rhythm. Sarah handed him a datapad over breakfast synth coffee, her touch careful this time. Run these specs for the new mesh layer. Make it tight. He nodded, feeling that faint hum between them, like an unfinished circuit. Xylos loomed in the background, sharpening tools with deliberate scrapes, eyes never fully leaving the human. Lyra scampered by, Mech Zero trailing, tossing a quick, "Hi, new guy," before vanishing upstairs. Work blurred into routine, tweaking sensors, patching code vulnerabilities. But every glance from Sarah carried weight, her mind brushing his in fleeting moments. During a quiet lull, she leaned in. That spark earlier, you felt it too, right? Not just static. Kalen paused, tools hovering. Yeah, kinda hard to ignore. She smiled faintly, but her eyes searched his, probing for cracks. By evening, the bar filled again, holograms dancing brighter. Kalen monitored from the back, his bureau training spotting patterns. Drops timed to music drops, staff signals hidden in gestures. Xylos clapped him on the shoulder, hard enough to test balance. Not bad for an off-worlder. Keep it up. Kalen steadied, grinning faintly. Had to be. Up in the loft later, Lyra snuck in again, curling up with Mech Zero. Tell me about Earth, she said, eyes wide. He spun a simple tale, omitting the bureau parts, her laughter syncing with the pet's whirs. The city hummed outside, endless. Kalen lay back, the bond's echo fading to a whisper. But that drone footage, somewhere in a log, that gold flare sat unnoticed. A hint of trouble brewing, if anyone cared to look. Morning came with a staff huddle in the back room, Sarah outlining the day's runs. Kalen, you're on escort duty. Keep the scanners blind. Xylos grunted approval, but later in a narrow alley, he cornered him for a quick spar, testing reflexes with feigned grabs. Quick on your feet, he admitted, stepping back. Kalen rubbed his arm, grinning faintly. Had to be. Lyra tugged him away after, up to the rooftop where vines glowed soft, hiding spots for the smuggled kids. Their eyes shimmered in sync as they played, a neural trick that made Kalen pause. Over rations, Xylos shared bits of the past, vans in the night, families gone. But that was tomorrow's shadow. For now, the bond pulled subtle, drawing lines Kalen hadn't planned to cross. Sunlight filtered through the loft's grimy window, casting long shadows across the cot where Kalen stirred. The city's hum crept in, a constant backdrop to the faint buzz of the bond still lingering from last night. He swung his legs over the edge, gear scattered from unpacking, and headed down for the morning huddle. Sarah stood at the center of the back room, data pad in hand, assigning tasks with quick gestures. Kalen, you're on escort for the supply run today. Stick close, keep eyes open. Her voice carried that easy command, but her glance lingered, a subtle pull through the link. Xylos leaned against the wall, arms crossed, his grunt a reluctant nod. Don't slow us down, human. Kalen met it with a shrug, grabbing the assigned kit. The run took them into the understreets, crates humming with concealed tech. Xylos led, his stride purposeful, but halfway through a narrow alley, he pivoted, feigned a grab to test reflexes. Kalen dodged, countering with a light block. Not bad, Xylos rumbled, easing back. Guess you ain't all talk. Kalen wiped sweat from his brow. Comes with the territory. Back at the Nexus, Lyra waited on the stairs, her small hand tugging his sleeve. Come on, you gotta see this. She pulled him up to the rooftop, where bioluminescent vines twisted like living circuits, screening hidden nooks. A handful of Orin kids huddled there, jade skins varying shades, playing quiet games under the vine's glow. Mech Zero whirred nearby, projecting holographic star maps that danced across their faces, calming fidgety hands. Kalen watched, noting how their laughter rippled, their irises sinking in perfect waves, like a shared pulse beyond human tech. One kid glanced up, eyes locking with his, a faint shimmer passing. Lyra beamed. See? They're like us, but, smaller. Mech Zero helps them forget the bad stuff. Kalen knelt, the bond humming faintly. Sarah's distant approval brushing his thoughts. He handed a kid a spare tool from his kit, showing a simple fix on Mech Zero's leg joint. The group relaxed, chatter building. Lunch came in the safe corner of the roof, shared rations unpacked under the vines. Xylos joined, his massive frame settling with a creak. He poked at the synth meal, then leaned back. Night Sarah's folks vanished. Bureau vans rolled in quiet. No lights, no noise. Just gone by dawn. Kalen paused mid-bite, the story unfolding in fragments. Shadows in the alley, whispers cut short. Xylos's eyes hardened. Raised her since. Ain't letting that happen again. Lyra fidgeted, then tugged Kalen's sleeve again, leading him to a loose wall panel hidden behind vines. She pried it open, revealing a glowing data shard. Look, this is what they're after. Kalen took it, the interface blooming with redacted files. Bloodline protocol. His gut twisted as lines scrolled. Priority acquisitions for Orin miners. Neural sinks harvested for quantum cores in war machines. Nodes dotted the planet, each demanding living processors to crunch battle sims. The weight hit him, his own bureau, the ones who'd sent him, running this. Sarah appeared then, slipping through the access door, her face paling as she saw the shard. Lyra, what? She stopped, eyes flicking to Kalen. That's not for outsiders, but I guess you're in now. She sat, vines framing her like a shield. Black market? It's cover. Funds the hides, the runs. Every credit's another day free. Kalen handed back the shard, words sticking. This is bigger than I thought. Evening fell as they descended, the bar prepping for night shift. Kalen slipped to his loft, pulling up his bureaucom. Fingers hovered over the report template, Sarah's name glaring. He deleted it, typing delays instead. Tech glitches, need more time. Guilt sat heavy, metallic on his tongue. Downstairs the music started, but he stayed put, staring at the screen. Far off in a sterile bureau hub 3,000 clicks away, an analyst frowned at the incoming ping. Transmission lag flagged red. Possible compromise. She filed it, a quiet note in the system. Wheels turning unseen. Lyra found him later, sneaking in with Mech Zero's soft ticks. She climbed onto the cot, leaning against his shoulder. You okay? You feel kind of worried. Kalen sighed, ruffling her hair. Just thinking, kid. She yawned, eyes drooping. Don't let them put us in the boxes. Promise? Her words hung as she drifted off, dreaming aloud in soft murmurs. Kalen watched the city lights flicker, the bond pulling him deeper into their world. Unplanned, unavoidable. The next run blurred with the last. Crates shifted under cover of market crowds. Xylos nodded more now, a grudging respect in his tests. Sarah's assignments came with brief touches, data pads passed, fingers brushing, the link sparking faint insights. Up on the roof again, the kids' sync drew him in, their games hiding drills for evasion. Over another meal, Xylos added details, protocols escalating, nodes expanding. Sarah cut in sometimes, her voice steady. We fight smart, not hard. Kalen absorbed it, his report edits growing bolder. That analyst's flag sat in a queue, algorithms weighing it against patterns. No alarm yet, but the net tightened. Lyra's dreams shifted restless one night, her small form curling closer. Kalen stayed awake, the shard's data replaying in his mind, cores pulsing with stolen minds. The bond whispered Sarah's resolve, a thread he couldn't cut. Shifts cycled, the nexus a hive of controlled chaos. Kalen patched more systems, his skills weaving into their defenses. Xylos sparred lighter now, tips slipping in. Watch the flanks, always. The kids' laughter echoed down, irises shimmering. Lyra led games, Mech Zero aiding with projections. Kalen joined once, his human awkwardness drawing giggles. Sarah found him there, a quiet moment amid vines. You're fitting in, faster than I expected, he nodded. Guess the job's growing on me. But the deleted names haunted his calm, guilt a steady pulse. The analyst's report escalated one level. Watch list added. Lyra slept sounder now, her whispers fading. Kalen stared out, the city's veins pulsing below, shadows deepening. The calm buzzed once against Kalen's ankle, short and sharp, like a pebble skipping across still water. He sat on the cot's edge, loft shadows stretching long from the single overhead bulb. Screen lit his palm, extract Vex in 72 hours. Lyra, high-value secondary. He thumbed it off quick, sliding the device back into the boot seam. Downstairs, chairs scraped as staff stacked them for cleaning. The bond relaying faint echoes. Sarah counting inventory, her steps measured across the bar floor. Renovations ramped up with the dawn cycle, hammers pounding rhythm against alloy walls. Dust sifted down in slow clouds, catching in light beams from ripped-open ceiling panels. Kalen lugged coils of fresh conduit, boots crunching over discarded fasteners. Lyra weaved through the chaos, ponytail bouncing, Mech Zero's metal feet ticking sharp on grates. She skidded to a halt by his open toolkit, curiosity pulling her closer. Fingers worked a side latch, click, and the comm spilled out, landing face up. Message glowed clear. Her breath hitched, shoulders sagging as she read. Mech Zero reversed a step, servos whining soft. She bolted without a sound, small frame vanishing down the stairwell. Kalen dropped the coil, metal clanging loud. Lyra, hold up! Tarps fluttered in his wake as he pushed through, heart kicking harder with each step. The bond surged, Sarah's head snapping up behind the bar, crates forgotten. He hit the cooler door, swinging it wide. Cold air rushed out, fogging the threshold. Sarah leaned against a shelf stack, arms crossed tight over her chest. Fluorescent tubes humming overhead. You catch every flicker I get. So tell me how this one sits. Her fingers dug into her sleeves, knuckles shifting under jade skin. Pain lands sudden behind his eyes, vision smearing for a heartbeat. He braced a hand on a frosted crate, steadying as the room tilted. Door banged again, Xylos barreling in, massive palm clamping Kalen's collar, hoisting him until boots dangled. Start talking. Frost patterns spidered across nearby boxes, vents hissing colder. Kalen's words spilled fast. Bureau intake on Earth, endless sims, the folded warrant tucked in his original pack. Xylos's eyes narrowed with each detail, grip easing only when the story ran dry. He let go abrupt, Kalen's heels hitting tile with a jolt. Lyra hovered half behind Sarah, stare locked on a growing puddle from a leaky shelf. Water dripped steady, plink, plink. Mech Zero projected a fractured, hard icon, edges glitching before the light died completely. She shifted her weight, sock scuffing once, then slipped past Xylos out the door. It eased shut soft behind her. Sarah's hand rose toward the handle, hovered, then fell back to her side. Quarters. Don't test the range. Guards materialized in the hall, boots planting firm, one adjusting a stun baton with a click. Kalen climbed the stairs slower, each step echoing in the narrow shaft. Hallway bulbs flickered to night mode, casting longer shadows across peeling paint. In the loft, he paced the floorboards. Creak, pause, creak. Window reflecting his outline against the city's distant pulse. The comm sat heavy now, a cold lump in his pocket. Outside the building, a delivery drone hummed past, rotors chopping air. Down in the alley, an informant lingered by overflowing bins, thumb tapping a quick relay. Door reinforcements logged, patterns shifting. Message vanished into the network. Kalen halted at the glass, palm flat on the cool pane. Breath fogged it brief. Mission first. The phrase hung, then faded with the mist. He turned away, boots scuffing back across the room. Staff chatter filtered up through vents, tools clinking as the Reno wrapped for the day, voices dropping lower. Xylos's heavy tread passed the door once, pausing long enough for the floor to groan, then moving on. Lyra's lighter steps stayed absent. No Mech Zero ticks echoing the halls. Time stretched. Bar lights dimmed further, pulsing bass starting faint from the main floor. Kalen dropped to the cot, elbows on knees, fingers laced. The bond tugged uneven, a dull ache building at the skull's base, distance enforced. A guard slid a meal tray under the door, steam curling from synth stew, a roll tumbling to rest against his boot. He nudged it aside with a toe, untouched, staring instead at fresh scuff marks on the wall from earlier pacing. Patrol beams swept the street below, one drone hovering longer over the Nexus awning, sensors whirring before drifting onward. Kalen lay back eventually, cot springs protesting. Ceiling fans spun lazy, clicking every rotation. The 72-hour countdown ticked silent in his head, but he rolled to face the wall, blanket pulled loose. Morning light seeped in gradual, dust particles swirling in new shafts from the window. Escorts prepped without him, crates thumping down external ramps, Xylos barking clipped orders that carried up through pipes. Engines revved outside, fading into traffic. Lyra's drawing appeared mid-morning, shoved under the door with a soft scrape. Crayon lines, stick figures linked by hands, one slashed heavy through the middle. Mech Zero followed with a projection, single star orbiting slow, then winking out. The paper crinkled as Kalen picked it up, folding it careful into his shirt pocket. Sarah checked once around noon, easing the door just wide enough to stand in the gap. Birthday prep kicks off tomorrow. Keep it simple. Her boots pivoted, latch snicking shut again. The bond brushed, brief, wary, contained, then pulled back. Kalen rose, resuming the pace. 5 steps to window, 5 back. Fingers drummed the sill, matching distant horn blares from the streets. Bar activity built steady below. String lights tested with electric pops, muffled kid laughter drifting from sublevels. He leaned closer to the glass, watching delivery vans idle curbside. The informant's update pinged higher in the chain. Behavior confirmed, timelines adjusted. Clock marked 48 hours remaining. Kalen fished the comm out once, screen cracking faint in his grip. He thumbed delete on a draft report, then pocketed it deeper. Options funneled narrow, each alley cart rumble outside marking time. Lyra dropped evening rations quick, tray clattering in, her retreat faster than the slide. Mech Diaruro left a trailing glow down the hall, fading round the corner. Sarah's presence lingered at the bond's edge. Guarded pulses, nothing more. Kalen sat on the floor this time, back to the cot frame, tracing tile cracks with a fingertip. The fracture layered quiet, settling into the room's every corner. Shifts swapped again downstairs, new voices overlapping old. A guard coughed outside, shifting weight. Kalen stood slow, stretching cramped legs, then resumed the measured walk. Creak, pause, creak, as city lights brightened full against the night. Midnight crept in quiet. The bar's main lights dimmed to a soft glow from string bulbs draped across the sublevel. Staff transformed the safe house below. Tables shoved together, crates flipped for benches, a smuggled cake centered with 8 candles, flickering uneven. 20 Orin kids clustered close. Jade faces lit warm, voices hushed in off-key song. Lyra stood on a stool, cheeks puffed, blowing out the flames one by one. Smoke curled lazy toward vents. For a second, the bond steadied. Sarah's hand on Kalen's arm from the next room, her pulse syncing his own heartbeat slow. Alarms shrieked the sudden, red strobes flashing in corridors, doors buckling under breach charges. Stun grenades rolled in, thunder cracking air thick with cake scent. Elite drop team poured through 3 points, boots thudding heavy on grates. Matte black armor reflected the chaos, visors down. Silas Thorne stepped through the smoke first, voice booming amplified. Vane, stand down, package the assets. His helmet tilted toward the kids, stun rifle raised casual. Xylos roared from the side hall, vibro axe igniting with a hum, blade cleaving the first trooper's shoulder plate, sparks flying. Sarah channeled pulses through her palms, shield bubbles snapping up around clusters of kids. Get them back, now! She shoved Lyra behind a crate stack, Mechar projecting decoy holograms that danced erratic. Kalen froze one heartbeat, bureau insignia glaring under strobes. Then his fingers flew across the bar's PA panel, hacking distortion waves. Speakers blasted white noise, helmet HUDs glitching wild. Not today, he muttered, ducking a stun bolt that scorched the wall behind him. Side by side now, he and Sarah moved fluid. His dodge anticipated her shield shift, her reload cue hitting his hands perfect. A trooper lunged. Kalen blocked rifle butt, Sarah's pulse slamming the man back into crates. Wood splintered loud. Xylos carved a path nearby, axe whirring through armor seams. Keep the little ones clear. Thorn cornered Kalen against the cake table, stunner pressing his temple cold. Best pupil I had. Don't throw it on Xeno trash. Kalen headbutted hard, crack echoing, then twisted the rifle away. Lesson over? He shouted coordinates over the din. Sarah, sub-level 9, coolant valve 3, twist left. Extraction pods clamped his arms, dragging him toward the breach. Sarah's scream cut sharp as the bond ripped. Wire tearing flesh. Kalen! Kids scattered behind shields. Lyra's small hand reaching out useless. Xylos covered the retreat, axe swinging wide arcs. Go! I'll hold! Sarah grabbed Lyra, Mech Zero clattering ahead to scout vents. Troopers pressed, stun rounds sparking off energy walls. Kalen fought the pods. Elbow to a visor, boot kicking a knee. Tell Thorn! He's blind! One pod stunned him amid struggle, world tilting dark. Up top, the bar emptied fast, patrons fleeing into streets, holograms flickering out. Thorn directed from the center, voice calm over comms. Secure the primaries. Veins compromised. Extract alive. Sarah herded the group deeper, shields pulsing weaker with each step. Stairs! Move! Lyra glanced back, tears streaking. We can't leave him. Mexajuro projected a quick map, routing them to hidden shafts. Xylos back last, axe dented now, armor scorched. A bolt grazed his side. He grunted, kept swinging. Valve, do it! Sarah reached sub-level 9, hand twisting the coolant hard left. Pipes groaned, frost exploding outward. Systems shorting in chain reaction. Lights died sector by sector. Thorn's team faltered, HUDs failing complete. Fall back! Regroup orbital! Pods hauled Kalen into a shuttle, engines spooling hot. The bond stretched thin. Sarah's panic fading to a thread. She collapsed against the wall. Lyra clinging. He's gone. Xylos limped up, sealing the bulkhead. Not for long. We get him. Shuttle lifted, city shrinking below. Kalen slumped in restraints, blood trickling from his lip. Thorn removed his helmet, face hard lines. You picked the wrong side, kid. Back in the safe house ruins, kids huddled quiet. Mech Zero's legs ticked slow, projecting faint stars to calm shaking hands. Sarah stared at the twisted valve, frost still creeping. Alliance call. Now. Streets outside buzzed with sirens. Bureau cordon tightening blocks away. Xylos patched his wound quick, gritting teeth. They took our protector. Time to take him back. Lyra tugged Sarah's sleeve. He shouted the code. He chose us. Sarah nodded, wiping her face. The bond hummed faint. Kalen alive, distant. Cleanup crews arrived cautious, scanning debris. One trooper kicked the cake remnants, candles crushed under boot. In orbit, the shuttle docked smooth. Thorn marched Kalen down corridors, restraints clinking. Interrogation suite, you'll talk. Kalen's head lolled, but eyes stayed open. Count on it. Below, Sarah rallied the remnants. Staff counting heads, kids lined up. Skytrain depot, midnight. Plans formed in whispers, tools passed hand to hand. Xylos sharpened his axe again, edge glinting under emergency lights. One shot. The city pulsed on, unaware. Neon veins carrying the night forward. Kalen came to strapped in a neural chair, the kind with clamps that bit into wrists and ankles, cold metal humming faint under his skin. The bureau suite orbited Neo-Viridia, stars streaking past a narrow viewport like blurred accusations. Pain inducers cycled every 30 seconds, sharp jolts ripping through nerves, leaving him gasping. Sweat beaded on his forehead, dripping slow onto the grated floor. Thorne stood close, arms crossed, his old mentor's face lined deeper under harsh lights. Safe houses, Vane, spill 'em, and this ends easy. Thorne leaned in, breath hot. Simple math. You're paying for their locations. Kalen's mind flickered, Sarah's distant panic brushing faint through the torn bond, like static on a bad line. He gritted teeth, spitting false grids. Sector 4, East Quad. Yeah, that's it. The inducers fired again, body arching against straps. Between cycles, memories surfaced. Lyra's birthday wish whispered close during the chaos. I want Kalen to stay. Her small voice echoed now, cutting sharper than the jolts. Thorne paced slow, boots echoing on alloy. You're stalling. We trained you better. Kalen's head lolled, vision spotting. Trained me to see through this. Thorne upped the ante, synaptic burn mode, needles of fire threading his skull. Vision whited out, but Kalen mouthed the real disable sequence for blood rule, lips moving silent. Override Alpha, 9 Delta. He hit it in coughs, piggybacking onto Thorne's command feed. Bureau codes turned inward like a blade. From Thorne's side, Kalen's vitals dipped flat for 4.3 seconds, monitors beeping urgent. Thorne paused, hand hovering over controls. Come on, kid. Don't make me push harder. I don't already know. The flat line broke, Kalen gasping back. Doubt flickered in Thorne's stance, shoulders shifting slight. Guards hauled Kalen off the chair when the session wrapped, dragging him down corridors lit red. Blood dripped from a split lip, spotting the floor in uneven trails. The bond carried a faint pulse still. Sarah moving, planning. She's coming, hold. He muttered to empty air, guards shoving him into a holding cell, door sealed with a hiss. Inside, bare walls reflected dim emergency strips. Kalen slumped against one, fingernails scraping the glyph for sanctuary rendezvous. Curves and lines etched slow into soft alloy. If you get this, Valley cloaked. Pain throbbed steady, but the carving steadied his hands. Darkness settled thicker, cell lights dimming to cycle rest. Kalen smiled through cracked lips. Your move, kid. Lyra's face flashed, her determination from the roof games. Thorne reviewed logs outside, screen glowing his face. Vitals dipped. He's breaking. But the piggybacked code wormed deeper, systems glitching faint in distant nodes. Kalen tested straps once more. Loose now in the cell, but body weak. He crawled to the viewport sliver, planet turning slow below. Neo-Viridia's lights winked like distant fires. Guards patrolled halls, boots echoing rhythmic. One paused at the door, peering through the slot. Quiet in there. Kalen stayed still, breathing even. The bond tugged again. Stronger pulse, Sarah rallying. Alliance, shuttle. Fragments came through, pieced in haze. Thorne returned later, door grinding open. Round 2? Or talk now? Kalen lifted his head slow. You first. Why kids for cores? Thorne's jaw tightened. War needs edge. Simple. Kalen laughed weak. Edge? Yeah, that's rich. Inducers prepped again, but the code triggered subtle. Alarms flickering false in another sector. Guards dragged him back to the chair. Clamps snapping shut. Jolts resumed, body tensing. Between, he fed more lies. West Docks, Hidden Bay. Thorne watched close. You're slipping, Vane. The flat line hit again. Longer this time. Monitors wailed. Bond pulsed urgent. Sarah's voice almost audible. Hold on! Kalen carved deeper when returned. Glyph complete. Cell air grew stale, vents humming low. Thorne's doubt grew, pacing faster outside. Check the feeds. Something's off. Pain lingered, but resolve hardened. Kalen whispered sequences again, embedding more sabotage. Guards shifted uneasy at posts. One muttered, "He's tough. For a traitor." The station orbited on, planet below hiding the Alliance stir. Bond strengthened faint. Rescue brewing. Kalen closed eyes, smiling wider. "Come get me." Sarah kicked the depot's side door hard enough to rattle the hinges, the clang rolling through the cavernous SkyTrain station like a starting gun. Dust exploded from the impact, swirling in the cones of handheld flashlights that cut across rusted tracks and overturned benches. 40 bodies spilled in behind her, hackers with cracked rigs slung over shoulders, ex-military Orin checking power cells, medics snapping open trauma kits on splintered crates. Xylos dropped a reinforced duffel. Blades clinked inside like wind chimes made of war. "One shot, people. Make it count." His voice scraped the vaulted ceiling, eyes sweeping the group for hesitation. Lyra darted to a gutted control podium, Mecha Zero's legs ticking frantic on the metal grate. She popped the pet's back panel, jacked in a scavenged sensor coil, and the little drone's core lit blue. Orbital vectors snapped into focus on a cracked holoscreen. Kalen's pain signature pulsing red, a heartbeat too fast. He's up there, and it hurts him every second." Her voice cracked on the last word. Tears tracked clean lines through the grime on her cheeks. Mech Zero projected a tiny map overlay, corridors glowing like veins. Sarah snatched a grease marker, boards squeaking under her hand. "Freight yard, base 7, supply shuttle refuels in 90 mics. We spoof the transponder, ride the shift change, dock at maintenance port 3. She drew arrows hard, marker squealing. The bond hammered inside her skull, Kalen's agony spiking with every jolt from the interrogation chair. She paused mid-stroke, knuckles whitening, then forced the line straight. "Turrets go dark first. Kalen already cracked their grid. We just finished the job." Xylos dragged the whetstone across his heaviest blade. Scrape, scrape. Each pass louder than the last. "Breach team with me. Shields front, blades second. No hesitation." Hackers hunched over rigs, fingers blurring. One muttered, "Bureau ice is thick," but he left us a back door. Code scrolled green. Firewalls peeled open like tin cans. Medics laid out stim vials in neat rows. Clink, clink. "Orbital vitals are tanking. We stabilize on site, or we lose him." The lead medic's voice stayed flat, but her hands shook, arranging neural patches. Sarah felt another wave crash through the bond, Kalen's pulse skipping, then surging. She pressed a palm to the wall, steadying. "He's holding the line for us. We do not fail." The room answered with a low growl of agreement, gear checks snapping louder. A young human pilot, defector patches still raw on his flight jacket, stared at the Orin kids lining up to board, their small hands linked, irises shimmering in perfect sync. His throat worked. "Every sortie I flew. Those cores were kids." Lyra looked up, eyes fierce despite the tears. "Then fly straight now. That's what matters." He swallowed hard, nodded once, and turned to pre-flight the shuttle. Engines coughed awake outside, vibration rumbling through the depot floor. "Lift in 5. Strap in tight." The pilot's voice carried over comms, strained but steady. Bodies filed aboard, crates lashed, rifles slung, kids tucked between adults. G-forces pressed as the shuttle climbed, city lights shrinking to a neon smear below. Inside the hold, tension coiled tighter with every kilometer. A hacker monitored the spoofed transponder. "Grid's green. They bought it." Cheers started, then died. Too soon. Station loomed on scopes, a brutal gray wedge against the stars. Turrets powered down in sequence. Kalen's sabotage blooming like silent fireworks. "His code's live. We're ghosts." Docking clamps engaged. Thunk, hiss, seal. Airlocks equalize with a pressurized groan. Sarah stood first, hand on the hatch. "Hold on, love. We're here." The bond answered faint but clear. Kalen's spark flaring recognition through the pain. Breach charges glowed red. 10 seconds, 8, 6. Silos raised a fist. On my mark. Breath held collective. Rifles up, shields humming. Lyra clutched Mech 0, sensor feed locked on the cell block. Left corridor, third junction, go. Charges detonated, muffled boom, hatch peeling inward. Alliance surged into corridors, stun rounds sparking immediate off energy shields. Push, push! Xylos roared, leading the wedge. Alarms shrieked station-wide, red strobes painting everything bloody. Sarah and Lyra sprinted point, bond guiding like a compass. Left, right, blast door. A guard rounded the corner. Xylos disarmed him in one motion, blade to throat. Prisoner. Where? Guard choked coordinates, dropped limp. Medics vaulted the body, stims ready. Vitals redlining. Move! Thorne's voice crackled over intercom's cold fury. Lock every sector, now! Bulkheads slammed, but hackers overrode. Motors whining as doors ground open again. Sarah's boots pounded metal, breath ragged. Another pain spike, Kalen's limits screaming. Almost! Lyra pointed ahead, Mech Row dodging fire. Cell block, straight! Corridors narrowed, debris crunching. Earlier sabotage leaving scorch marks and dangling cables. Tension ratcheted with every meter. Lives balanced on the next bulkhead, the next breath. Silos smashed a control panel, sparks showering. Path clear, go! The group charged, drama cresting in the final sprint. Rescue or ruin hanging on the turn of a single corner. Alliance boots hammered the orbital station's deck plates like war drums. Stun rounds ricocheting off orange shields that flared brilliant green. 20 kids in the rear corridor, hands locked tight, voices rising in a low rhythmic chant that made the air itself thrum. Sparks cascaded from every impact, lighting faces in strobe bursts of white-hot fury. Sarah sprinted at the spearhead, Lyra's small hand clamped in hers. The bond link burning a searing path through smoke and chaos. Left, blast door, right, bulkhead. Cell block, now! Sarah's shout cracked over the roar, jade skin glowing like a beacon under emergency reds. Alarms screamed shrill, a siren wail that shredded eardrums. Thorne's voice exploded from every speaker, cold and lethal. Blood rule, fail safe, vent every sector. Station AI obeyed instantly, bulkheads irised open with hydraulic shrieks. Atmosphere howling out into vacuum in violent torrents. Papers, tools, loose panels whipped past like shrapnel. Guards clawed at walls, visors fogging as pressure plummeted. Oxygen alarms shrieked higher, lights strobing crimson panic. Sarah's lungs already burned, but the bond screamed louder. Kalen's cell door 20 meters ahead, locks grinding under frantic hacks. She slammed her palm to the final panel. Sparks showered, door buckling inward with a tortured groan. Inside, Kalen hung limp in the neural chair, restraints cutting deep, bruises blooming black across pale skin. Sarah dropped hard to her knees, hand cupping his cheek. Contact detonated the link full force. Their minds slammed together like colliding suns. Overload surging instant and unstoppable. Station AI core overloaded in chain reaction. Consoles erupting in geysers of flame. Lights exploding overhead in glass rain. Wake up! We're here! Sarah's whisper thundered through the bond, yanking him back from the edge. Kalen's eyes snapped wide, body convulsing upright as crimson strobes painted the cell in arterial light. Thorne barreled through the smoke, plasma rifle humming lethal, bolt lancing blue-white across the room. Xylos erupted from the side corridor, massive frame intercepting the shot, armor melting in sizzling sheets, jade flesh charring black, blood hissing on hot metal. His stride never faltered. Not today! But roar ripped from his throat, vibro axe swinging in a brutal arc, cleaving Thorne's lead guard shoulder to hip in a shower of sparks and severed plating. Legs trembling like failing hydraulics, Kalen lurched free of the chair, fingers flying across Thorne's locked suit panel, punching the bureau override only insiders knew. Armor seized rigid, servos whining failure, rifle clattering useless to the deck. You taught me. Too damn well, Kalen snarled, shoving his former mentor back. Thorne's helmet cracked against bulkhead with a hollow crunch. Security feeds captured the children's circuit. 20 small bodies in the hold corridor. Hands fused, irises shimmering perfect sync. Energy arced between them in silent lightning, frying containment grids in cascading waves. Locks popping like gunfire. Force fields collapsing in showers of blue sparks. Guards froze mid-fire, HUDs blacking out as the kids' power ripped through station wiring like an invisible storm. Hull integrity alarms shrieked next, metal groaning deep, rivets shearing. Station fractured outward, debris blooming in metallic petals, zero-G pulling shards into deadly spirals. Escape shuttle detached with a violent lurch, docking clamps shearing clean. Engines flaring cobalt against the void. Atmosphere vented full now, screams cutting to silence as sections imploded in sequence, bulkheads crumpling inward like crushed cans. In the shuttle hold, bodies slammed into crash webbing from brutal acceleration, crates rattling loose. Kalen collapsed against restraints, fumbling his bureau badge free, plasma torch igniting in his shaking palm. Flame licked the metal until it glowed white-hot, then crumbled to ash, drifting slow in weightless air. Done with everything that was. Ashes swirled around his fingers, Bond humming full seal as Sarah yanked him close. She kissed him hard, lips crashing desperate, Bond locking lifelong in that single explosive instant. Every shared thought, every scar, every near-death detonated into permanence. Lyra wedged between them, small arms hugging fierce. You're officially late for cake. Again! Her laugh cracked through tears, Mech Zero whirring frantic fireworks in pixel bursts. Shuttle rocked hard, debris impacts pinging hull like bullets, sparks dancing across viewports. Engines screamed throttle, dropping toward atmosphere. Xylos slumped into a seat, scorched armor steaming acrid, medics swarming with stims and sealant. Worth every damn burn, he grunted, eyes locked on the station's death throes, chunks tumbling slow into orbital decay, fire blooming silent against the black. Sarah's hand stayed fused to Kalen's, Bond pulsing victory and raw ache. We got you? Barely. Kids chattered wild now, shields fading as safety sank in, their circuit power still crackling faint in the recycled air. Pilot's voice cut urgent over intercom. Re-entry in 90, brace hard. Flames licked the forward screen, shuttle shaking violent as gravity clawed them down. Debris trailed like comets, station's corpse blooming brighter in the rear cams. Hold stabilized, gradual, ashes settling to floor grids, webbing creaking. Kalen leaned into Sarah, breath sinking perfect. Guess, that's our exit. Lyra giggled through sniffles, Mech Zero projecting tiny victory fireworks, celebration in frantic pixels. Planet rushed up fast, valley coordinates locked solid. Xylos checked his axe, dented deep but edge still hungry. Fight's not over, but this round's ours. Shuttle pierced clouds with a thunderclap, engines throttling back hard. Bond sealed every wound, every near miss, lifelong now, unbreakable, explosive. Shuttle engines throttled down with a low growl, heat shields still glowing cherry red as it banked over the hidden Orin Valley. Atmospheric refraction cloaking the descent like a living curtain. Ancient trees rose taller than any skyscraper. Bioluminescent leaves shimmering soft greens and golds in the twilight. Landing struts kissed mossy ground gentle, ramp hissing open to fresh air thick with earth and pollen. Kids spilled out first, blinking wide at real sunlight filtering through canopies, bare feet sinking into soft soil for the first time. Wedding Arch stood ready at the valley's heart, woven from glowing vines that pulsed faint with each breeze. Lyra officiated center stage, 8-year-old solemnity etched on her face. Mech Zero hovering beside with holographic rings spinning slow. You two, stand here. She directed firm, small hands gesturing. Sarah stepped forward in simple jade wraps, hair glowing deeper, while Kalen followed in borrowed Orin cloth. Clean now, scars fading under med patches. Kalen recited vows in the Orin tongue he'd pulled from Bond dreams, words rolling smooth despite the newness. From shadows to this light, yours always. Sarah's tears caught the glow emerald, sliding slow. And mine, through every storm. Rings projected solid, holograms locking real as Mech Zero sealed the code. Xylos approached heavy, warrior's cloak draped over his massive arm, fabric thick with old battle stains. He placed it over Kalen's shoulders, clasp clicking firm. Kin now, protector. The weight settled solid, acceptance in every fold. Children arrived next by transport shuttles, stepping tentative onto grass, eyes wide at the open sky. No bureau vans in sight. One tugged Sarah's wrap. Is this, home? She knelt, hugging close. Forever. Kalen moved to the perimeter line, unpacking Nexus drones from crates, units humming awake, scanning horizons. He programmed grids quick, fingers steady on controls. No more infiltrating, just guarding. Lights winked green, shields layering invisible over the valley. Night fell gradual, stars pricking clear above the canopy. The couple climbed a low cliff, city lights a distant scar on the horizon, faint neon reminder. Bond hummed content, no secrets left. Quiet, finally. Kalen murmured, arm around Sarah. She leaned in. Ours. Lyra scampered up behind, flower tucked behind Kalen's ear, petals soft against skin. Protector promise, don't break it. Mech Zero projected a tiny heart, steady glow. Valley defense grid flickered online final, powered by voluntary adult Orin minds linked willing, no child forced again. Pulses spread wide, shields shimmering faint under moonlight. Far away in Bureau archives, a terminal updated cold. Agent Vane, KIA. New file opened silent. Guardian protocol status active. No alarms, just data shifting. Kids laughed below, chasing fireflies that matched vine glows. Xylos stood watch at the arch, axe planted firm. Good ground. Hold it. Sarah traced Kalen's hand, bond weaving deeper. New start. He nodded, flower brushing her cheek. Valley settled into night rhythms, leaves rustling soft, drones humming patrol. The couple stayed on the cliff, city scar fading further with each breath. Lyra called up eventual. Cake time, come on! Laughter echoed, pulling them down. Defense lights pulsed steady, sanctuary sealed.